This is Josiah Plays Pillars of Eternity. Okay. Nope, not new game. Going back into a little Pillars. So, I just completed level 5 of Endless Paths of Oddnua. Killed the Drake. The actual Drake that talked. It was the boss of the, of those Zarups, at least, in the first few levels. And we're gonna see what... excuse me, we're gonna see what I'm gonna do next. So... looks like... this quick save my... I guess it is. So, yeah, here we go. You like a game, an RPG, when before you're even done with it, you're already planning out like future playthroughs. Like, I want to do another playthrough using the story companion so I can see the different ones and different permutations there. But then I really want to play through it once with a whole party, custom made by me, and I want to play through it at least once solo. So I'm thinking about what kind of class I want if I play solo, what kind of class for my whole party for me, what difficulties I want to play, and I really want to try to go for the Triple Crown solo thing. The Triple Crown is an achievement you can get, which is playing through the game, beating it on Path of the Damned with expert mode and Trial of Iron on, and then that's the Triple Crown achievement.
All right,
and then there's the hardest one is to do that solo, which sounds pretty crazy. I mean, that's a pretty nutty thing to do. And suddenly I'm yawning a bunch. I don't know why. But... so I just completed that, level 5. I don't know... seems like I've only got 2 things to do. Travel to Deerford Village or go to the cave in Searing Falls. I think I'm gonna do Deerford Village first. So, yeah. Time to hit up the Deerford Village. So, do I need to do anything at my keep here before I leave? I don't really think so. A lot of money. How much money? Oh, I have a pretty decent chunk of money. What's going on with my stronghold? 44. Allah's still doing a grand adventure. Lord Sidrock is here. Guess I'll go inside real quick and see if there's anything in my chest. So I'm going to play through this playthrough that I'm currently doing completely legit. No mods, no anything else. But when I play through this the second time, I'm definitely going to get probably some mods, or at least a mod, the one that makes stealth.
If secrets whisper here, I shall listen for them.
The one that makes stealth full speed. Hey, Lord Sidrock, what's up? I should have brought more bags. What am I to do with my green robes? Okay,
I trust all is well, my lady. Please let me know if there's anything I can do to help. What is the state of the keep? Ah, where to begin? Let's see here.
oh, okay. No new actual dialogue stuff about the keep. Where's my... Yeah, right here. I got a pilgrim's crown. That's nice.
Welcome.
You know, I was thinking about not even buying another camping supplies. That way when I find camping supplies, I can actually take them.
Yes.
Instead of...
Yeah?
I think I need to...
Your thoughts must flow deeply indeed.
think to rest.
Of course.
So, loading screens time. Artificer saw. Yep. Alright, cool. We're well rested. I really need to get some athletics for her. As soon as she levels up again.
Of course.
Okay, so... Guess I'll just travel straight to Deerford Village then. Because I've already done everything I could do in Stormwall Gorge, I think. And, same with Woodend Plains. So yeah, I guess I'll go straight to the village. One day. So I'm fairly familiar with this village from the backer beta, although things could have changed. And also, I know that specifically for the backer beta, they took some things out and they changed some things so that no spoilers would be involved or nothing that touched on the main story or the companions or anything. So there may still yet be some surprises for me here. What did I just see? It was something about my stronghold, right? Ooh. Azuro has arrived, offering to sell you Scoth Guanic for 3,200 copper. He was nearly set upon by brigands on the road, but your patrols intervened. So, I could buy this shield from him. Not much of a shield, is it? Doesn't have any properties whatsoever. It's just a medium shield. It's just a normal medium shield that he wants to sell me for a ton of money. I'm confused. I don't... Yeah, no thanks. I'll read the description though. It's nice looking. It's cool. It looks cool. Found in one of the early raids of the Angwithan ruins in the White March, Scoth Guanac Winter Shield was given to the Deeren Lord Thane in charge of Fort Bone Picker. Unaware of the shield's power and too vain to trust in an artifact from the ruins, the Lord then hung it in the council chambers of the fort as a symbol of Eddar's mastery over White March and its native tribe, Stone Bramble. I wonder if it's like I don't get to see the properties until I buy it. Oh look, it does have properties. What, that was weird. It didn't before and now it does? Oh my god. This shield's actually really friggin' good. It's superb. It grants bashing. And it has Winter Wind. Okay, so that'll give him 24 deflection versus what he's got. Which also gives him 24, but with less accuracy loss. I don't know what the difference between bashing 1 and bashing 2 is. Well, who cares, right? Like, seems worth getting. I don't know. He's gonna gain 4 accuracy. And the ability to cast Winter Wind. Let's get it. Not that expensive. Where is it? Is it in my stupid chest back at the keep? Seriously? After I just left there? Sons of bitches. Alright, well, whatever. It'll still be waiting for me there. Next time I go back to the keep. Certainly not going back for it right now. Medrith.
Light, flame, and sound.
Okay, so...
We'll keep to ourselves.
Find someone in town who knows about the ruins. I finally reached Deerford Village. It's a sleepy little backwater, but there's got to be someone here who's familiar with the ruins. Right. Ruins. None of these quests have anything to do with Deerford, right? Liaban Relag. Okay.
Following your lead.
Kana?
Yes, my friend?
Do you know anything about this place?
We're not in Kadnua.
What?
We're in Deerford, bro.
Hey. What's on your mind?
Yes? Yes, my friend?
Okay.
Shh.
See what there is to find up here. Like a church? Vasily Raskolnikov, like Rodion Raskolnikov from War and Peace. Dostoevsky's War and Peace. I mean, why am I saying War and Peace? Crime and Punishment. War and Peace is by Tolstoy, and it is not the book I'm thinking of. It's not the book with Raskolnikov. It's not by Dostoevsky. Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. The primary character that is named Raskolnikov, Rodion Raskolnikov. So, let's, these guys are going to have vibrant histories for me, so let's just do this. As you near, you hear a yeah, we're not going to read that part. Vibrant history, reach out for the soul. You see a Gizarab gurgle gently as it falls to the ground, the victim of a small blade to the throat. A tall man in dark armor wipes the blade clean on his cloak before padding onwards toward the next guard. Another flash and the second Zarup is down, and the next, and the next. Finally, a scout spots him and raises a shout. Between one step and another, the man smoothly deposits the knife in his boot and draws two long swords, decapitating the closest Zarup in the process. He makes no sound, but the sleek whistle of his blades as they pass through monster after monster, before one lodges in the skull of one particularly hard-headed specimen. Unable to break it free, he discards his other sword and reaches for his spellbook. A cone of flames erupts from his hand, boiling the skin from three agonized Zarups nearby and causing the remaining to scatter. The earth shakes and spikes of rock begin to pierce the surface as a nearby Zarup high priest attacks, a moment too late, as the bespelled man moves unnaturally quickly from ground to ground, attacking the remaining Zarups with sword and spell. Sweat burns his eyes as he conjures an enormous ball of fire, sending it screaming through the air toward the high priest and her remaining followers. Nothing but charred corpses remain after it passes. He falls to his knees, panting, almost 4 scores Zarups fallen around him. That's a lot. Just as he moves to get up, he must have been playing on easy, not Path of the Damned. Just as he moves to get up, the ground begins to shake once more. Twice. 3 times. Huge footsteps, and then he dives behind a rock spike, a returning volley of fire singeing his cloak. The Drake has noticed him. Okay, well he fought some Zarups and a Drake. So did I. Here's Artevin Selawintis. Vibrant history. You see a fallen log lying on the moss-covered ground. The surrounding woods are quiet, everything calm and undisturbed. A small bird lands on one end of the log, warming itself in the sun. This man emerges from the trees, moving quickly, but not quite running. He places each foot with a deliberate precision, making almost no noise. He jumps, landing on the log, and runs along its length. Only when he reaches the end does the bird take flight, startled, as if it didn't realize he was there. He jumps down from the log, landing next to a tree with a small branch jutting out from it just above waist level. He grabs the branch and pulls himself forward, giving him a short-lived burst of speed. He is coming to the edge of the forest, and buildings can now be seen through the trees. Sounds of life make their way through the air and to his ears. He leans forward, running to push his way through the tree line and onto the road beyond. He pulls himself up short and looks around, breathing heavily from the exertion. He doesn't seem to find what he's looking for, and takes a place leaning on a nearby building. Several minutes pass and he smiles, pushing himself off the wall, walking out to meet a figure running up the road, breathing heavily and shaking its head. He informs the figure that he's going to have to try harder if there's any chance of beating him. He puts an arm around the other man's shoulder, reminds him there was an ale at stake, and says it's about time to pay up. So he won a race. Good job. He must be swift. Fleet of foot, as they say. Here's Rirnu Halxigirai. Okay. She has a vibrant history. Let's reach out for her soul. You see this woman lounging on a large divan. She takes dates from an ornate glass bowl and stuffs them absent-mindedly into her mouth while she stares at the window. She is unkempt, half-dressed, and occasionally yawns, seeming bored with her surroundings. Her room shares the same unkempt look as if it hasn't been cleaned in weeks. A layer of dust covers everything. Clothes and partially eaten food litter the floor, and the furniture is in need of upkeep and repair. 1 second. Sorry. Knock comes from the door to her chamber, and she lets out a quiet grunt, ignoring it. She grabs another handful of dates and starts throwing them into the air, one at a time, attempting to catch them in her mouth. She frequently misses, the dates bouncing to the floor, forming a makeshift ring around the divan. The knock comes again and she jumps, missing yet another date, which hits her on the forehead before rolling away. She grunts and looks at the door, exhaling sharply through her nose. A muffled and distant yell comes from somewhere outside the room. She rolls over on her side, facing away from the door, and pulls a pillow over her head, trying to drown out the noise. She lies there for several minutes, eyes slowly closing as she slips into sleep. The door opens and someone enters the room, hesitantly making his way over the floor to stand by the divan. He reluctantly reaches out and touches her shoulder, shaking it gently. The pillow falls from her head, and she turns to the man, a confrontational look on her face. "Mistress," he says, kneeling before her, "we need your help." The woman sighs heavily, rolling her eyes, and starts to stand. Grabs one last handful of dates, and walks from the room, chewing noisily. So I really don't know what her deal was supposed to be, but I guess she liked dates. We know that much.
Quickly and quietly.
We know she was a date enthusiast, if nothing else. So that was those three. Alright, let's go in here real quick. Into this temple, this church. The church. Okay. There's a Selby there. And a Harbinger Baedmar. Flames dance amidst scattered offerings. Keys, coins, and the tiny skulls of birds and mice are mired in the melted and hardened wax. What's up with these statues? They kind of look like the two figures. I'm kind of thinking that's like the Barith, you know.
Yeah, eh? No problem.
Seriously? Oh, there we go. Oh, move back to where you were. Quick save. Go, go, go. Got it. Boom. Scroll of Restore Major Endurance. Oh, it is a Temple of Barith, right? Of course it is. So, you need 8 lore for that. Who has 8 lore? Endurance, Kana. Endurance and Kana. Okay, Selby. Let's chat.
Talk to Baedmar. No one trusts me with anything more than lighting candles.
Okay, Harbinger Baedmar.
Out with you! I already told you what. I'm sorry. I thought you were one of those ruffians.
The old man turns as you enter. His face is covered in bruises and his lower lip is swollen. He stops and peers at you, squinting through a black eye. Somebody beat this guy up.
Someone has put this priest to the test, but one not nearly difficult enough by my measure. An amateur's work. How may I help you?
He gives you something between a smile and a wince.
What happened to you?
I never saw their faces. Strange hooded men asking about those ruins. Cleoban Relag. Most of the brigands who come through here asking about the ruins are looking for a few ancient trinkets. But these people knew the name, and they were in a hurry.
He hobbles over to the filmy window. Peers through the dirty glass. Ah, so those are the lead and key guys, apparently. They came and they beat up the priest. They knew the name of the ruins, Cleoban Relag. Relag.
They wanted to know where Cleoban Relag was. I tried to keep it from them, but I couldn't hold out forever. I don't know what they were up to, but it can't be good.
Carefully probes a patch of blue skin around his cheekbone. He limps away from the window, shaking his head. The old priest nods politely.
Is there something else I can help you with?
Can you tell me where to find the ruins?
The Glanfathan tribe that guards the ruins will kill anyone who trespasses there. And they'll retaliate against us, too, if history is any indication. We've had too many fortune seekers stir up trouble of late. If I'm to tell you, I'll need to know your reason for wanting to go.
The old priest tugs on his beard and frowns.
A dangerous plot is unfolding there. I've got to stop it.
If that's the case, then we may already have trouble headed our way. I'll have to take you at your word. You'll find Cleoban Relag here. Whatever trouble you find there, please end it quietly and try to stay out of the ruins.
A weary sigh wheezes out of his throat. He pulls out a faded map and points to a spot in the woods. Alright, well, that's easy enough. He told us exactly where it is.
Tell me more about Deerford.
Folk here tend to keep to themselves, as they do in most towns this deep in the Deerwood. They're suspicious of travelers, but with all the brigands and refugees moving through the area, who can blame them?
This is a temple of Barath? What can you tell me about Barath?
Barath is the most universal of all the gods. It oversees portals and cycles of all kinds, even life and death itself. Under Barath, an ending is merely a passage to another beginning. Barath has many representations across time and across cultures. Around the Deerwood, you'll commonly see it depicted as the Pallid Knight, or the Usher. The Glanfathans, however, know it as Bunin I Anku and Anku I Bunin.
Tell me about the Pallid Knight.
She's one of the youngest manifestations of Barath, but a familiar one nonetheless. Stories describe her as a gaunt knight in black armor, with black eyes, black hair, and milk-pale skin. She demands an impossible toll from travelers who have tarried too long on her lord's road. Some challenge her only to slay themselves in the process.
Who is the Usher?
Kith have written stories, songs, and poems about the Usher for centuries. Sometimes he's folk, sometimes dwarf, and sometimes merely a walking skeleton. He never speaks, but he guides the way to death and the next life. He also creates the circumstances for the wayward to stumble into their own graves.
I've never heard of Buin I Anku and Anku I Bunin.
It means life and death in life, respectively. You see them as two skeletal figures, one male and one female. Explorers have found them carved opposite one another in doorways. I know of no particular legends that speak of them.
Thanks for the information.
Of course. Barath was once more widely worshipped in this area, but it is a silent god.
He smiles sadly.
These days, people find themselves in need of clearer answers.
Farewell.
Alright, so that was easy enough. Vedmar showed me where to find Cleoban Relag, but he warned me to steer clear of the Glanfathan tribes guarding the ruin.
Alright.
Great.
My thoughts will be as silent as my feet.
Onward we move. Onward. Okay, so now there's these motherfuckers. Cowled man, cowled man, cowled dwarf, cowled woman, boar companion, not cowled, and a Medreth, who is not looking very cowled himself. What's up, cowled people? Let's just...
Eh? No problem.
Following your lead.
No,
All right, then.
Que? Ah.
Hey, all right, then.
Just in case. In case some shit jumps off.
Us, we're just minding our own business.
As soon as we catch her, it's back to Defiance Bay.
Joke with Medrith! We're cooling our heels until Medrith says the job's done.
Okay. Right. Medrith, what's up? An elf idles by the road, watching the village across the river. He nods as you approach, and the cowled figures standing near him fall silent. Oh, he reacts to my positive rep in Defiance Bay.
Greetings, friend.
A slow smile forms as he eyes you.
I've heard of you. Word has it, you've been busy in Defiance Bay.
He draws closer.
I'm busy too, and eager to finish my business and get back to the city.
Sounds like we're both too busy to stand around chatting then. He laughs.
Right to the point. What, just the kind of person I need to find her.
Who?
Haven't you heard? There's a murderer on the loose, said to have gone mad with grief, and strangled a dozen healthy children when their own was hollow-born.
He nods at the figures with him.
We come all the way from Defiance Bay to bring her to justice.
She's here? He nods across the river.
She's hiding out in the village. We'd go in after her ourselves, but the problem is she knows our faces. There's no telling what she's do if she saw us coming, and we'd like to avoid any further unnecessary bloodshed.
He leans closer.
Her name's Nifri. She's an Orlan. We want to get her out of town so we can deal with her cleanly. She knows we're looking for her, but if someone to convince her that it's safe to leave...
If she's a mass murderer, why didn't the Duke send the Crucible Knights after her? Ooh, with my perception I can see a look of distaste flickers across his face. It's quick, but you catch it.
The powers that be want to keep things quiet, for obvious reasons. Better not to cause a fuss, and certainly better not to startle her into doing something drastic.
I'm not so sure about this. He lays a strong hand on your shoulder.
A mad woman like that is everybody's problem, friend. Just keep an eye out. If you come across her, remember what I told you. I promise I'll make it worth your while.
I have a few questions for you.
What is it?
Remind me who I'm looking for?
An Orlan woman named Nifri. I don't know exactly where in the village she is, but there aren't too many other Orlans around here. Well, any luck with Nifri?
What did Nifri do exactly?
She was responsible for the murder of all those babies in Defiance Bay, remember? Terrible thing. But we'll make her pay all right.
I don't remember hearing anything about babies being murdered. Let's get back to my search. Okay, cat and mouse, new task. A woman named Nifri is on the run and hiding out in Deerford. Find Nifri and lure her out of Deerford. Medrith told me that he's looking for Nifri, a murderer from Defiance Bay who's killed dozens of children. She's an Orlan woman. If I find her, he wants me to convince her that it's safe to leave Deerford. It seemed odd to me that someone like Medrith was sent after Nifri. He doesn't exactly look official. Medrith had an interesting reaction when I asked about the Crucible Knights. I don't think he likes them at all. He seems kind of dodgy, doesn't he? Kind of dodgy. Alright.
Eyes open.
Here we go. Onto the lovely bridge across the lovely river. Hold! Lord Nestor Heron has need of your aid. Is that right? This is a House Herond guard. Lord Herond, huh? Okay. Ooh, because I have 3 levels of positive with Defiance Bay. Guard really seems happy to see me. The guard sighs with relief as he looks at you. What are the odds? Stuck in this backwater only to meet the famed champion of Defiance Bay. Bareth's wheel brings mercy today indeed. His demeanor grows serious. Perhaps you could help. I don't suppose you saw a young elven noblewoman on the road. Stuck in this wretched place with the rest of my unit until we find her. Who is she? Lady Alis. Lady Alice. He bites his lip. She's the daughter of Lord Nestor Heron, and she's gone missing. He sighs. Perhaps you could go speak with Lord Heron at the inn. I'll be grateful for the assistance, and it could be the villagers will open up to you more than they have to us. A new quest. Blood Legacy. Blood Legacy. Lady Elise Heron has disappeared in the quiet town of Deerford. Lord Heron is sick with worry for her and fears that the townsfolk are intentionally keeping something from him. Speak with Lord Heron at the Dracogen Inn. A guard on the bridge to Deerford. Told me that Lord Heron's daughter is missing. He and the rest of House Heron's retainers have been combing the village for her, but to no avail. Lord Heron is waiting at the inn. He would know more about the disappearance. Okay. Lord Heron. If you find Lady Elise, escort her to the Dracogen Inn with all haste. Okay.
And what does the flame reveal?
I'm glad we had this talk then, sir. What do we have here? It's like a mill. Water wheel. Tower. Deerford Mill. 60 XP earned. What's up, villagers?
Have you been to Defiance Bay? I heard there's no Hollowborn there. Can't remember the last time we had a healthy birth in the village. That lord will have bigger problems if his guards keep pushing us around. That lord staying at the Dracogen has just about worn out his welcome. Herod's men already asked us about the girl. What more do they want? When these lords have problems, they always blame honest kith. Typical.
Winfrith's pleasant enough, but once you get him talking...
Most who pass through nowadays are refugees or bandits.
At least we're not under some tyrant like those poor sods in Gilded Vale.
Not anymore.
Would you look at this?
Ooh, hidden stuff.
Used to be a castle here. We tore it down during the revolution.
The roads are more dangerous than usual with that ogre about.
I don't go out after dark anymore on account of that ogre.
Could have sworn I heard the ogre just outside my window last night.
You did hear about the ogre, didn't you? Ate all of Rumbald's pigs.
Good to defies. While you're in town, get some poultices from Hendina. The roads are dangerous these days.
Okay.
Ooh, a couple of balloons. The mill slowly grinds away at a trough of grain. Okay,
Yeah?
alright, stealing all the things. Oh yeah, I got your rice. And your grain.
Got it.
So that was the mill. Not much going on in there, but I found some hidden gems. Who's this? Heard that before. There's Rumbald. A man paces angrily in front of a wrecked animal pen, his sun-weathered face twisted with ire. He's so wrapped up in his fury that he doesn't seem to notice you.
Gallowayne slobber and beasts, blazing bloody effigy, thrice damned salty wench and a soggy.
That's probably not the best way to pray to the gods.
A fat lot of good they've done me so far. Just look at this mess. My pen ruined, and all but a few measly runts gone.
I've had about enough of your tone, farmer.
At least you're still in one piece. That's something to be thankful for.
But these pigs are my livelihood. What am I supposed to do now?
He bites his lip and closes his eyes. His nostrils flare with each quick, angry breath.
Wife's always telling me to mind my temper. Just breathe deep and count to 10.
He sighs.
An ogre moves into the area long ago. Folk had been seeing glimpses and tracks out in the wood, but it seemed to be staying away from town. Or so we all thought, until it made off with my pigs. Now, everyone's afraid it's going to develop a taste for kith, if it hasn't already.
Tell me how I can help.
I know it's too late to get my pigs back, but it has set my mind at ease to see that thing's head shorn from its neck. In fact, you bring its ugly pate to me, and I'll trade you for something that's of less use to a farmer like me than to a rowdy-looking sort like yourself.
What do you know about the ogre? Just a second.
It's the same as any other, I'm sure. A big, ugly son of a bitch with a nasty temper and an appetite to match. Trigal could tell you more. He claims to have seen it in the wood. You can find him in his shop right by the broken tower. Need something else?
I've been sent to find an Orland named Nifri. Know where she is?
Never even heard of her.
Okay then, another new quest. A Farmer's Plight. Rumbald, a pig farmer in Deerford, told me that an ogre made off with his herd. He wants the ogre dead, and he wants me to bring him its head. He left it dead, and with its head, he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Okay, no, never mind. Find the ogre's lair somewhere in the wilderness outside of Deerford Village. Emerald mentioned that the ogre had been spotted around Deerford, but he wasn't sure exactly where it dwells. Rumbold informed me that Trigal might know the whereabouts of this ogre. His shop is in front of a half-collapsed tower. Cool.
Any sign of that ogre? Or its head?
Not yet. Okay. Piglet. Piglet. Can't do anything else to these piglets. What's going on here? House Herond Guard. Acking up. Acking up with peeps. I think I already came over here and looted the contents of this, you know, thingy. Oh, look. I found Pilgrim's Crown. All right. That is my favorite plant to find. What's up, Villager? I've already heard that. Already heard that.
If there's something you're not telling us.
You're what? Your lord's fancy pedigree don't mean nothing here.
As he walks away. I hear music coming from. Heard that before. Apparently I already looted the contents of that barrel as well. That there is the Dracogenin. Dracogenin. Dracogen. Yeah. Oh, what do we have here? Another pilgrim's crown. Glorious.
Yeah.
Could you? Fine. Oh, I found some fruit. Here we have Winfrith's Arms and Armory. Any secret, like, ways down into the well or anything? No? Okay. Looking around. Just looking around. Hey, Anonymous, welcome back. To see you again. What's going on? Is he saying that kith tastes like pigs? Well, you know, around here, who knows? Around here, who knows? Or maybe the pigs taste like kith. This is stealing? Who's it stealing from? Well, I guess the cart before the Svef. Wait, what? That didn't even make sense. I'm gonna go inside this armory. See what kind of glorious things I can steal / purchase.
Yeah. Got it.
Oh, the question
ready.
then becomes...
On your word.
Can I?
Yeah.
I think there's only one thing I could possibly loot. Let's see if I can get to it before it gets spotted. Oh yeah, I got you. So this guy's into the Svef, apparently. I found some outside in his thing, and I just found some in his shop. Winfrith. They said he talks a lot. Who's... okay, Reveal Lauren is gonna be a vibrant history. Reach out for the soul. You see a forest clearing, fog curling through the weeds on the ground in the cold morning air. The serenity of the scene is occasionally broken by a faint noise that echoes through the silence. This woman emerges from the trees and stops, dropping to the ground. She creeps to the edge of the clearing and crouches near a tree. She glances around furtively, listening intently in the growing light. She presses her back to the tree, tensing against it, ready to spring forward. From the distance comes another sound, a rustling in the undergrowth. At that, she shoots forward, keeping as low to the ground as she can. She puts a hand to her throat and makes a sound, a shrill bird call. But what emerges from her mouth seems to emanate from yards away. From behind her, near the source of the rustling, there is a brief grunting noise that is quickly silenced. Dives into a large bush at the edge of the tree line, keeping her head down and wriggling silently through the leaves and twigs. Takes a position in the bushes, turning to face the direction she came. She raises her hand again, this time mimicking a Stelgare, placing the roar directly behind the men, failing to sneak up on her. More than one voice answers this call, all of them sounding panicked and hurried, all of them quickly moving this way, all thoughts of stealth forgotten. Backs out from under the bush to crouch behind it. She pulls her bow from her back. She takes a shooting stance and waits for her hunters to appear. So, apparently the hunted has become the hunter. Alright, Winfrith, what's your deal?
How do you do?
A portly, smiling man stands behind a warped wooden counter, polishing a buckler. He looks up. Haven't seen you before. Always glad to see a new face in town. Company's good for business, and chatter's good for the soul. That's what I always say. Anyway, what can I do for you? What's been going on in Deerford? Sorry about that. Oh, we're a quiet little town. Not much happens here, especially not since the legacy hit. People realized they couldn't have babies and just stopped trying altogether. And that takes a lot of the excitement out of the day-to-day, if you can believe it. I can believe it, yeah. Show me what you have for sale. Oh, he has stuff. Ooh, he has stuff. Take these lockpicks, even though I never actually use any lockpicks. He has pry boards. I have plenty of these things already. Man, he has all kinds of stuff. He has a mosquito. Alright, here we go. Tall grass. It's a pike. Ooh, it's exceptional. Predatory. This is an amazing pike. I should get this for Pallegina instead of that weapon she's using. Although, oh yeah, and I could even enchant it with a lash also. Okay, tall grass. It's exceptional. And it has 10% of hits converted to crits. And it has crits can inflict prone. That's amazing, actually. Okay. A group of Adiran pikemen were so disciplined in battle that they garnered the attention of the fair Koning himself. He made them members of his personal retinue and ordered special weapons fashioned for them. They marched at the head of his procession, their movement perfectly synchronized and their pikes swaying like blades of grass in the wind. The pikemen became a public favorite during royal festivals and parades, and both they and their weapons earned the nickname Tall Grass. That is a sweet pike. Wow, it's certainly expensive as hell though, isn't it? Alright, here's... oh, it's a greatsword. There's all kinds of weapons for Pallegina here. So this is a greatsword called the Hours of St. Rumbalt. Crits can inflict prone again. It's accurate 3. That's a shitload of accuracy. Jeez. Is so much accuracy. Okay, hold up. Oh, so it will show how much damage each person does with it. Does quite a bit more damage. And plus 50% to crit damage multiplier. St. Rumbalt was among the first of the Aethasian pilgrims to take up the Emperor's offer of resettlement in the distant territory of Red Saris. A dedicated priest of the Shining God, Rumbalt was regarded as a leader in his community, known both for his unwavering dedication to his congregation and his stern vigilance against lapses in doctrine. What survives of his sermons reflects this duality, where he emphasized the redemptive power of the faith, even as he warned against the dire punishments awaiting those who rejected Aethas's beneficence? I don't think I've even seen that word. Beneficence. Like benevolence, but just, you know, different. Okay. Those who rejected Aethas's beneficence. The colonization efforts brought Aethasian settlers into direct conflict with the native Orlan populations, and Rumbold was among those credited with routing several brutal attacks upon the settlement. Ultimately, however, Rumbold was mortally wounded during a violent raid. Witnesses claim that upon the moment of his death, Rumbold's body was suffused by an overwhelming burst of light, knocking the remaining Orlan warriors flat, or else scattering them back into the forest. Accounts arose of Rumbold's final hours, describing the great miracles which were observed to have occurred during the day preceding his death. Eothas, it was said, had informed Rumbold of his fate, and the priest accepted this gladly and without fear, for he knew that death was only the first step in his rebirth. He subsequently marked each of his final 27 hours with a miraculous act, such that his congregation would know of the gift Eothas had bestowed upon him, and continue Rumbold's work in his stead. Rather than stanch the flow of Aethasian settlers, Rumbold's death only encouraged more pilgrims to venture across the sea, eager to set their eyes upon the final resting place of Eothas's favored servant. The Hours of St. Rumbold was forged in dedication to this patron saint of the resettlement, and its blade is inscribed with markings counting the 27 hours before Rumbold's passing. In such manner was the blade imbued with the saint's power. It was said that the man might kneel before the sword and know with precision the moment of his death. Wow, that's a pretty cool sword. That's quite a story there. Hours of St. Rumbold. Here's a Grudge Keeper. It's a rod. Vicious rod. Does extra damage against prone, stun, and flanked enemies. Well, one of the many Orlan slaves freed by the 10 Years' Treaty, Maswin Kas swore vengeance against those who had wronged her and her people, gathering a small group of fellow freed Orlans to perform night raids on known slavers. She would go on to join the Gref's forces in putting down the Cooper's rebellion, if in an unofficial capacity, and it was at this point that she acquired an ornately carved rod from the home of a wealthy slave owner. Every time Kas brought down a foe, she would scratch a notch into the rod she wielded. The time she lost possession of it, the rod bore a crisscross pattern along its length that many assumed was part of the original design. So she killed a lot of people with that thing. Then there's Ritezzi's Thorn. This is a spear. It's a fine spear. It's valiant. You get extra accuracy and damage when you're below 50% endurance. And it has Crushing Lash on it. Sounds like a pretty nice spear. The sight of Ritezzi on the battlefield was something no combatant ever forgot. Stocky and short, even by Orlan standards, Ritezzi insisted on using a spear in lieu of any other weapon offered him. To the frequent shock of his comrades, Ritezzi proved an unstoppable force on the battlefield. No matter how overwhelming the odds, Ritezzi could take down opponents with almost comical ease, leaping great heights to bring his spear down upon his foes with crushing force. Whenever it seemed that Ritezzi might at last meet his end, fearless Orlan would find a second wind and fight with renewed conviction. Huh. Pretty cool. And some fine weapons. What about Mosquito? This is a rapier. 20% of damage restored as endurance. So nice, of concentration. -5. -5 to concentration. Okay. This finely crafted but unassuming rapier was created in the hot and humid forests of the Scythewood. Its first owner was a minor nobleman named Edwin Grundmeth, known in social circles for his obsequious manner and annoying habit of lingering too long where he was not wanted. Edwin had little use for the blade in the courts he frequented. When Edwin died an unnotable death, the blade passed to a young niece, Hayden Grundmeth. She found that the weapon had characteristics of her uncle. good at interrupting at inopportune times, draining the life out of anyone it came into contact with, and generally an annoying presence. It was Caden who gave the rapier its nickname Mosquito, and used it regularly in court duels. The weapon passed to Edwin's grandson in the Deerwood upon her death. A Thane of Queensrun, he was lost during a Glenfathan raid. Mosquito was lost with him, as he had no descendants and none of the Grunmeths of Adir had made a claim on the rapier. It has circulated among anonymous Glenfathan and Deerwooden owners ever since. That's not that cool, really. It's alright, I guess. Here's Angio's Gambison. This is a light armor. Gives plus to athletics, which is nice. Real nice. And plus 10 reflex. Pretty cool. That'd be good for a, you know. And it's fine. Fine padded armor. The renowned Valian acrobat Angio wore this garment while performing jaw-dropping feats that seemed to defy the laws of nature and the standards of good sense. He would leap and tumble across wires suspended high above the ground, and while there is no evidence that this Gambison actually reduced his intelligence, his concern for safety lessened as his fame and skill grew. He forswore the wearing of safety harnesses and, eventually, the use of any kind of safety rope, claiming that these tethers limited his ability to perform. While his skill never failed him, one of his tight ropes unfortunately did. Plunged to his death, foot of Ancenze Fortress. Boots of Zealous Command. Only usable by Paladin. Oh, these are good! An extra... Wait, but the Paladin aura doesn't really even have an area of effect anymore, does it? It just seems to affect everybody, no matter where the hell they are in the party. Am I right? Maybe that's because they changed that, and then they never really updated these boots to be relevant. An officer in the Darkosi Paladini of Old Vailia first wore these. It was said that those under her command knew her by the sound of her approach and stood a little straighter in her presence. She was known throughout the order for her inspirational leadership, but if they had not changed it to where the aura seems to affect everyone in the party no matter where they are, then these would have been amazing for Palagina. Voice of the Mountaintop. Okay, now we're talking. Only usable by Chanter. 20% extra area of effect on the chant. Dwarven chanters of the White March are said to have mastered projection techniques to such a degree that they can trigger distant avalanches with their voices. Whether or not this specific rumor is true, they are known to chant between peaks and across rugged valleys, exchanging messages with their brethren across great distances. This amulet was forged by an ancient order of druids in the White March, precursors to the Ethic Knoll of Twin Elms. It was worn and passed down from one watchman to the next, men and women who stood guard atop the high peaks, ready to warn their fellows of approaching armies. That is pretty cool. That is very cool. What is Kana wearing on his neck now? A minor cloak of protection. Okay. I need to test and see if that actually works. Because that is kind of rad if it does. It's very cheap too. Very cheap. I'm going to sell some stuff here. Sell some things. How many fine large shields do I really need? So many shields. So many spears. So many crappy hunting bows. No, 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 no. I'm not ready to sell off those. How many rows of stuff? This saber here. Is there a chance anyone's gonna want to use this? I don't think so. Should sell some of this other crap. Like, I'm carrying a bunch of weapons around, like, in case. And again, maybe somebody would want to use it. What about this quarterstaff? Pretty nice. Somebody might want to use that too. Shit, hatchet, spear. Get rid of this now. Probably get rid of this. This. Yeah, I could probably get rid of. Wait. Hmm. So. Man, if I had no intention of using traps and I was going to sell all these traps, they'd be worth a lot of money. I have no intention of using Svef, though, so I could sell all that. Really have no intention of using Ripple Sponge either. More Snowcap. More White Leaf. And all this. Okay. There we go. We'll make a little money. So now, you consider getting tall grass for no. Instead of just... Oh, shit. Hit my microphone here. Almost, but not quite entirely unlike a boss. So... does more damage. It has reach. Better accuracy. And it has predatory and overbearing. Then I could put a lash on it and it would really be like superior as hell. If I could put a lash on it, they're not some sort of bajiggity. Because it only has 3 actual enchanted properties. That increased reach is just all pikes have that. It's not an enchantment. So all right, so let's see a couple things here. I'm gonna quick save.
Tell me.
She has no boots at all.
I'm
like
ready.
her
I understand.
her aura. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Tell
here.
me. Eh? No problem. Quit?
Alright, so
Quit?
Collegine is chilling here with her 56.
Eh?
She's got her 55.
I'm ready.
Now she turns this on.
I'm ready.
62.
Yeah?
61, even though she's way over there. So, I don't know.
Quit?
Because it says the aura range is 3.1 meters. It says that here. But clearly they've just changed that in some way, or it's bugged or something, because I get it, you know. The whole party gets it, whether they're within 3.1 meters of her or not. So, okay, anyway. And the other thing I want to check out.
On your word.
Hana's chants have a definite radius, right? I mean, it's a rather large area already, isn't it? But let's see if I can make it larger. So, let's say now.
Yeah? Sure.
Yes?
Eh? No problem.
On your word.
It doesn't reach to her, say. Now, if I buy that.
Eh? No problem.
Following your lead.
If I buy that thing. And he wears it.
Welcome. Well met, friend.
Buy that. This. Voice of the mountaintop. Okay.
No problem.
Following your lead. Yes?
He wears that. See, I guess it did improve it a little bit, right? Not much, though. Didn't improve it very much. Now it goes...
Of course.
Hey. All right, then.
Yes?
Huh? All right, then.
Following your lead.
So it just barely gets to it there.
No problem.
Following your lead.
See what happens.
Following your lead.
That's wearing it. Oh, shit. Okay, so... take it off.
On your word.
Doesn't. See, that's a very... not much bigger area there, is it? I mean, it's just the difference between where that line is now and the start of Adair's circle. Pretty tiny. Don't really know if it's worth wearing that necklace, to be honest. Why is the difference so small? Because it says it's 20% more. It should be way bigger difference than that. But it isn't. I don't know. I think I'll just not buy that. But while we're on the game that we're about to reload anyway,
Hail and well met.
let's also buy this. And then, like, see, like, can we enchant it? Yeah, so I could put a lash on it also, which is cool. Look how many of these things I have. I'm considering what kind of lash I want. Wise to take a look at. Baldur are vulnerable to shock. Beetles, however, super resistant to it. Autobots. Oozes are vulnerable to freeze. Crystal Eaters are very resistant to corrode. Vulnerable to corrode, resistant. Vulnerable to burn. Drakes obviously very resistant to burn. Earth blights. Forest lurkers. No freezing skeletons, apparently. No freezing ogres, apparently. No freezing phantoms either. Burning's good against them. I think it should clearly be Burning Lash. Makes it less good against drake, you know, worms and drakes and dragons, but it seems to make it better against a lot of other things. Obviously not flame blights, but yeah, I think Burning Lash is the way forward. So I could buy that, I could put Burning Lash on it, and she would pretty much be kicking ass with that thing. No Zorops for freezing damage. Still 45 Zorops. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to load my quick save. I'm not going to buy that Chanter Amulet. I think I am going to buy that pike, though, even though it's really expensive. Pretty glorious.
I'm
Palagina.
ready.
Welcome.
Alright, I'm going to buy this pike. Wait.
Hello.
Can I get a discount from this guy somehow? He doesn't seem to have a quest for me or anything.
Gods keep you.
Don't care. Buying it. And not going to use Justice anymore. That pike. This. Pretty cool looking. And it's going to be enchanted with burning or corrosive. Suppose it'll be burning. That's so cheap to put a lash on there. There we go.
Tell me.
Look, it even has... That's pretty awesome,
I'm
actually.
ready.
Super awesome. She's gonna kick ass now. And she can now have a nice gun in her other... Or an arbalest. Arquebus, arbalest. Together.
I'm ready.
Okay, nice. Nice. Okay, cool. Now that I've faffed about in the store here for a bit. Put a lash on Cloud Piercer. Most appropriate, given its other ability is shocking, but Alright, well, let's just... Vessel. Vessel. Beast. Spirit. Vessel. Spirit. Thinking about putting Beast Slayer on his hatchet. Why not? Doesn't look any different, does it?
Of course.
Too bad. It has burning lashes. Too bad it doesn't have that burning effect like hers does. Wait. This thing already has 4 properties, and yet I can still... I'm confused. I'm really confused how this enchanting thing works, because this has 4 properties. Obviously I can't. What? Now I can put this stuff on it too, in addition to fine? What the hell's going on here? Why are you confusing me, enchanting? So this armor, it says maximum enchantments reached. Has 4 things. But like weapons can have as much shit as they want on them, or what? So I can still put slaying on this. I can still put a lash on this. Big talons. Huh. Marking. Enchantments from the same categories replace each other. Yeah, well, the only one that seems to actually be able to do that is Fine, Exceptional, Superb, because it's never let me replace one of these plus stat ones. Like, she's got +1 intellect on there, right? If I wanted to put +2 intellect, well, okay, I don't have the materials right now, but I tried it out at the gem merchant. I bought the gems and it wouldn't let me put any other, same with, you know, anybody's armor that has plus, it wouldn't let me put a different one on there. And same thing with lash on weapons, right? You got a lash, it won't let you put a different lash on. But see, here's what's weird. Like, this is what this guy's armor, right? See how it says he's got 5 out of 12? And yet, it says maximum enchantments reached. I can't put Fine or Exceptional on it. It's already got that, so it won't let me do... And it's already got that too, but... Like, it's just weird that it wouldn't let me... And yet, then when I go in here to this hatchet, I mean to this, yeah, it's got 1, 2, 3, it's got 4 different enchantments on it. And now it's like, hey, do you want to throw accurate or damaging on there also? Like, wait a minute, what? Oh, I see. Accurate or damaging would replace Fine, I think. But like this weapon here has 4 enchants already on it. And if I want to, I can add slaying also. That's... kind of crazy. Okay, well, I don't quite understand it. whole thing works, but I guess it doesn't matter. Yes, you can upgrade only the quality, which is cool, but then, like, I don't know why I can't put a quality on, like, say, Adair's armor. Makes no sense to me. It's has no quality thing on it already, and it's only 5 out of 12 of enchants. It's just dumb. It won't let me. And it also, yeah, it's also annoying that if you put a +1 stat on there, you can't upgrade it to a +2 later. So I was thinking, oh, okay, so there must be a hard limit of 4 different enchants on this thing, no matter what, you know, like, okay, you can only have 4 things. And maybe it is for armor, but on this weapon, for example, it's very clearly letting me have more than 4 things because I have 4. And if I want to put a slaying on there right now, it'll let me do it. So, yeah. Pretty weird. Anyway, she's got a new pike. And, see, now her thing has a... Look at all these enchants that are on this thing now. It's kind of ridiculous. Yeah, well, see, that makes sense to me. You can only have one of these, but that still doesn't explain why I can't enchant his armor. Because it has a proofing, fine. It has an attribute bonus, fine. It has 2 properties that came on it. But it will not let me add a quality at all. I have the materials. I have the level requirement, well, at least for this one. It has only 5 out of 12. It boggles my mind why I can't enchant this armor. Either this is bugged in some way, or like there's some other element to this enchanting system limitations that is not clear to me. I should test it right now on Kana's armor. And see if it'll let me put 2 different enchants on it. Alright, I'm gonna quick save. I'm gonna do a little test right now. See if Kana's armor is gonna give me the same job that Durance's does. So first we're gonna enchant this. We're gonna make it fine real quick. Okay. So now it has 4 properties. Yeah, and if I want to put proofing on there, it'll let me. So now it's got 5 properties. Then why the fuck? It's frustrating then that my tank's armor that I really want to enchant is the one thing that it won't work on for some reason. Doesn't make any sense. Like, maybe it's just bugged out or something. I don't know. I have an idea. Maybe if you do it in the other order, which is the way I did it on his armor, maybe if you do it in the other order, it somehow screws it up. So if I put the proofing on Kana's armor first, then let's see if, like...
On your word.
Here's Kana's armor. Already has 3 properties. Make it corrode proof. Go. Alright, now it has all these, it has, you know, 4 properties. See, look! Look at this! It is bugged out. Because when I did it the other way around, it let me. If you put the quality on it first, and then the proofing, it let me have both. But because I put the proofing on first, now it won't let me do quality. Just like Adair's armor. So that's a bug. That's a legit bug. Pretty clearly. I mean, the order in which you put those on there should not affect what you can put on there. That's gotta be a bug. Well, knowing that it's a bug makes everything make a lot more sense all of a sudden. Doesn't really help me with his armor, but, you know. Okay. Well, cool. Now I know that... In fact, I should see if it still does that. If it does that even with the things that don't have that many properties. Like, who has just some normal... Let's just dig some normal armor out. Like, it has nothing on it. Hey, look. Here's... Oh, whatever. Here's a Baratheon priest robe. Okay, so this thing has nothing on it. So if I'm like, hey, let's corrode proof this. And hey, oh no, it'll let me. Might this. Okay, hey, let's... Yeah, it'll let me do that too. Must just be because of the amount of enchants on there. Okay, well... Weird. Hey, good morning, Natastraphus. How you doing? Working and being semi-responsible. That sounds good. As long as it's only semi. You know, you don't want to overdo it with responsibility. Just, you gotta be careful with that. Alright, well, I am out of time for this...
Tell me.
...episode here, so... gonna do it here. Stream will continue, but the video is gonna end now. This has been Josiah Plays Pillars of Eternity.